Treasury and supported today by Will Morrow down the front here from our team. So who's new today? Who's the first time to a benefits or portfolio community of interest? A few of you? Great to see you along. Great to see a lot of familiar faces as well. Today we are going to video the session, so if there are people in your organisation that couldn't make it, we'll hopefully get that to work and post that onto the public service intranet afterwards, and they can watch the parts that we're interested in after. So we'll be dropping out the presentations that you'll see today and hopefully the video of today to be able to share it across your organisation. A big thanks to Lisa Ewer and the MSD for hosting today's joint community. It's fantastic facilities here for us to hold these communities. Will and I have been working for some time. We were looking with this joint community, we looked to hold maybe one or two of these a year between both the portfolio and benefits community. And we were looking to see if we could get one of the government investment ministers along, as well as the chief executive along, to talk about investment management, its importance to them, and how we get all our technical jargon, benefits, portfolio, assets, make sense to them. We failed for this one, but it's still on our list to see if we can get along some of those senior speakers to actually hear from their own perspective how they'd like us to support them. Jonathan Kirk, who normally supports us today, is on holiday in Vienna, so hopefully everything runs smoothly today. He's normally our IT person from the GCIO. And I thought I'd just talk you through the agenda today. So I'm going to give you a quick update on what was discussed at Government Investment Ministers last week on the requirement to report benefits to Cabinet. Also want to give you a quick update on Steve Jenner, who's the author of the Managing Benefits book and co-author of Management of Portfolios, looking to get him back later this year. And then Emma McDonald from the GCIO is going to really set the scene about what's happening in New Zealand around our push to improve our services through digital transformation. Following that, from Sydney, very pleased to have Zach Beaton and Irene Bassel from CEB, who have been acquired by Gartner recently, to really talk about how portfolio management officers can support the new digital future that we're all having to face. Finish off, throughout each of these there'll be time for you to ask questions at the end of each session, and then we'll just talk a little bit about the next two meetings and any other queries. So I thought I'd start off really if I talk about the Steve Jenner visit. So Steve Jenner came to New Zealand last year, very well received, ran a number of courses and engagements with agencies. We're looking to get him back for 3 days in Wellington from the 13th of November to the 15th of November, the Monday to Wednesday. And this time round, when he's back, we're looking for him to do a range of different sort of offers. A course specifically for people in the weeds of benefits, having to do the actual identification, validation and reporting of those, so a 3.5-hour benefits analytics course. Something more for senior stakeholders or those who want an overview of portfolio management, a 3.5-hour portfolio management course. On the second day, on the Tuesday, looking to have him run a portfolio management masterclass, which is really taking you through all the concepts in more detail, time for case studies and questions from your own perspective to get help with. And then on the Wednesday, he will hold again another benefits management community of interest, and very keen for him to leverage some of what he's seen globally when he's over here. Got examples from Canada and Dubai that I think are going to be very interested in hearing about. What I'll do is Frankie from IR at the back here is helping organise the Steve Jenner visit. He's going to Auckland as well after Wellington. And we'll be dropping out some more details with promotions and wanting to get interest across your organisation for those classes. Some of them are free, some there'll be a fee, which we'll set out at being run and supported by CC Learning in Auckland. So we'll get some more details out about his visit shortly. The next part on the agenda was really just at the benefits community. I've been signalling that ministers have much more interest and demand for agencies to meet the requirement to report on the benefits from their investments. And these requirements have been signalled for some time. So the Cabinet Office Circular required all agencies to report back a year after the completion of their investments on what the benefits were achieved. The Minister of Finance, who's now a PM last year, said rather than doing it at an individual investment by investment level, he would be happy to have an annual portfolio report across the investments that have been completed. And when we took the investor confidence rating results through the Cabinet in May, they agreed that it was time now to put in place that rolling program of reports. And so we're at that next step of actually putting in place that program. Having said that, you're all on a bit of a journey around benefits. We see through the investor confidence rating results and the information and engagements we have with you that everyone's putting a lot of effort and focus in the improvement. We want to take ministers along. We want to support this to be done in the right way. And so it's looking at reusing information that already exists, that you report to us, say, in the government project portfolio data set, and telling your story around that data, the performance and what improvements you're making, and when those improvements will be shown in your investments. This is what we took to ministers around a draft program. Originally, when I looked at this, we were looking to start in July. We've decided we'd slow that down and take a much more iterative approach to actually put this program of reports in place. And so we're looking at the potential for a proof of concept later this year with Defence and Inland Revenue, followed by a pilot by the other large investment-intensive agencies in the first half of next year, and then putting that into really a 2-yearly rolling program of report backs to Cabinet on the benefits from your investments. Shortly we'll be sending an email out to your Chief Executives copied into your ICR investor confidence rating sponsors, letting them know about this requirement and so that they're aware and can be make sure that we can meet that. And we'll start engaging with you around what this requirement means. At the moment there's no template, so we're wanting to really see if we can use the Defence and hopefully Inland Revenue to see if there is some sort of template that we can potentially guide and further guidance that we can help you with around this. And in terms of scope, the circular requires all Cabinet approved investments to be reported back to Cabinet. But we would encourage you to think about all your significant investments as well. But the minimum requirement is that you report on any completed Cabinet investments. And further out, we think it makes sense to look at what's reported in the government project portfolio data set and potentially update Cabinet on your broader portfolio, including those completed significant investments. So it's really just to say government investment ministers and Cabinet really are keen to create that demand and have agencies front up and actually discuss their performance on benefits, starting from late this year with a pilot and then trialling and launching that program for next year. So are there any questions around that from anyone here? Great, thank you.
Sorry, Grant?
Yep.
You said proof of concept, is that underway now or is that going to happen late this year?
Later this year.
Okay,
So,
the pilot next year.
a pilot next year. Yeah, so Defence have had a report back ready for some time, and because of their change of minister, they've looked to align that with other work in their entity to go up to Cabinet. So I haven't had time to talk to IR, so hopefully that's not a surprise, but we will get something out and come and have a discussion with you about making that pilot happen before December this year. Okay. Next on the agenda, we have Emma McDonald from the GCIO. And Emma's going to give you a bit of a scene set around what's happening in New Zealand space around digital transformation, and what's happening from the GCIO's perspective. So I'll hand over to Emma now.
Not well.
I feel like I should focus on. No one else can do that by right. First off, I should say I am not a benefits manager or profile manager, a portfolio manager. As Grant said, Jonathan is swanning around Europe and Shane is sick, so if there are any really gnarly questions at the end of this, I'm going to throw them open for a general conversation for you all to get involved, or I'll take it back and get back to you afterwards. As Grant said, I'm Emma, I'm from the GCIO. I run the international program there, and so I'm going to give you a wee bit of a scene setter about what's going on and why the digital transformation is meaning that there's going to need to be a cultural change for all of us within the government sector. So, the international program, why am I talking about the New Zealand setting? Internationally, we're really, really, really well regarded. A lot of people in New Zealand don't realise that, and so this is a story we've got to get out a bit better in New Zealand. But in 2014, we were asked to join a group called the Digital 5, the D5, which is the 5 top digital nations that are also liberal democracies that are focused on open government, which is really important in the digital space because trust is essential, so therefore open government's really essential. This has led to a lot of people taking a lot of notice of us. So Fletcher School at Tufts University put out a report every 5 years called Digital Planet. 5 years ago, we were one of the standout nations. They're about to release their other report, their next report in a couple of weeks. Indications are it's going to be very good for New Zealand as well. And on that basis, a number of people are coming and actually wanting to work with us. And so we've had the Kennedy School at Harvard University show an interest in coming and doing some stuff with us. MIT wants to come out and do some stuff with us. A whole pile of different countries are coming to say, what is your special sauce? And they're starting to really notice. With this sort of attention internationally, there is actually quite a bit of pressure on us to keep this up and to actually get faster and to be better and not to stall, because if we stall, it could be a little bit embarrassing for us. So, on to our story and actually how did we get here? Disruption is the new normal. Most of us know this. We've all heard that technology is making things go so much faster, and it means that we're in a much more complicated world. For the public service, most of the problems we're now facing are multi-layered and they go across a number of different agencies. Very rarely do we get to do something just in the silo of our own ministry anymore. The approaches that we've been using aren't ideal in this situation. Digital is giving us tools to be able to deal with that. Now, when I talk about digital, I'm not talking about ICT. It's about a cultural shift within the public service to allow us to use ICT. This will become a lot more apparent as we go through the talk. But this requires innovation. That's quite complicated in the public sector. We've got to work within the boundaries of the law, and we've also got court of public opinion. If things go wrong, it gets very embarrassing for us because it's usually on the front page. And so actually, how do we balance that? Because there is risks with innovation. There has to be. It's part of the whole cycle. You need to fail occasionally. How do we balance this sort of stuff? Our journey started about 5 or 6 years ago with some really public and really embarrassing failures. And we needed to look around and say, actually, how can we do this better? And we decided that actually a centrally led and collaboratively developed approach was the best way to do it. Now, with all the management literature that you've been reading, you all know that's actually quite slow to take off. And it was a little bit slow, but once you get everyone on board, actually that's where you get speed and that's where you get the benefit, because we've got the trust built amongst all of the different agencies now. And that means we're in a really, really good place to actually push this to the next level. So, how have we kind of got there? We've had some really, really good things to actually underpin a coherent ICT infrastructure. Things like we've bedded in the government ICT strategy. It's really agile and outcome focused, and it's supported by an integrated program of work that all of our CEs have joined up on. The partnership framework is all of the CEs around the public service and the second tiers joining together to guide the GCIO on the work that we're doing, including the integrated program of work. We all have joint ownership on this, which is really important. we've had a strategic opportunity to develop a digital ecosystem, bringing government, non-government, the private sector and citizens on the journey with us. We're getting the best of everything in New Zealand and throwing it into this ecosystem so we know what's going on. We've got a catalogue of shared ICT services that 150 agencies buy into. We've also got all of government agreements with major suppliers. These last two things have saved us $300 million so far. We're seeing real benefits here. And because we've got this really, really good infrastructure in place now, we're starting to see things are starting to stick. Disruption is the new normal, and we're okay with it. We're moving okay. But we're at a turning point. Now this is quite complicated, so I'm just going to talk you through it a wee bit. This is the progression from an analogue society to a digital society. We're currently about here. With spikes into there would get quite exciting, and we get quite excited with the GCIO. It's like, oh, that's what the future looks like. This is the web back in the day before 2.0. This is just basic stuff on the internet that you read. This is taking analogue and putting it online. So it's your form, you can do it on your computer, you still get to print it and sign it. But, you know, it's a wee bit to step forward. This is actually a wee bit of interaction going on. So this is like what Stats does with their website, where you can actually have a conversation with a stats person and say, well, what about that GDP, what's going on there? And actually have a two-way conversation and get what you need from it. This is where we're heading. This is Nirvana. And we've got a few instances of this in the public service. Inland Revenue and what they've done with the accounting software, so that businesses, their GST is now paid seamlessly through their accounting software. Government's not even in the equation anymore. You don't see them. It's just seamless. That's where we want to head. That's what true transformation is. We're not quite there yet, but you know, we've got ambitions. That's where the opportunity is. But there's also a lot of barriers in the way. Some of these barriers are things like actually having to work across agencies. We're all in silos, and so therefore our funding is all in silos. But actually a lot of the magic is happening in the middle. So how do we fund that, and how do we get beyond the traditional way? We're in the public service, so therefore we need to have accountability. How do we set up accountability to ensure that that funding is still robustly being spent, but at the same stage allows innovation, which means that we can allow risk? These are things we've not quite sorted out yet. And this leads to, oh no it doesn't, sorry, I've got another slide. This is where we're going. This is what it's all about. So I talked about IR, but there are other examples. One that we use a lot in the GCIO is Air New Zealand. You're booking a trip over to Europe, like Jonathan has. You're sitting there on Air New Zealand, and you click a box that says, yeah, go check to see if everything's okay. It will tell you, actually, your passport's about to run out. Do you want to renew it? Yeah, okay. It will go and do that automatically for you. You need a visa to go to whatever country you're going to. Yeah, okay, go do that for me. You've got a parking fine and we're not going to let you leave the country. I'll go pay it for me. All done on the Air New Zealand site. It's seamless. You're curating your own experience of government. And you can do this in your pajamas at 11 o'clock at night while watching Netflix. Government is open for you. It's what you want when you want it. In order to do this, we need to realise government isn't the be-all and end-all. We're only one part of the supply chain. We need to be really open. We need to have machine-readable data. We need to have APIs. We need to be open for business. My CE talks about it because he's talked about government as a platform. He doesn't like that very much. He likes it as, we're the playing field and we're inviting everyone to come and play on the field. We need to be part of a whole ecosystem where others are adding value with what we've got to deliver. That's really hard to measure. You're only a tiny wee part of it all. How do you do that? I'm going to leave that to you. You guys are smart, you'll work it out. So it means that you need to start looking at new things. It's not the traditional quantitative measures like cost that you need to be looking at, because a lot of the time this is going to be happening too fast. You're not going to see the cost benefits straight away. So you need to start thinking about, how do we measure speed to market? How do we measure increased flexibility? This is the one I want to know about. How do you measure giving someone benefit if they can understand fast failure, fail fast and then get on and do it better? Because you need to understand failure is a really important part of this. You learn from failure. In the US, you won't get venture capital unless you've got 2 failures behind you. Failure is actually really important. But in government, we're like, oh, you can't fail, you never get any money ever again. How do we deal with that sort of stuff? And also, it's now on really, really short cycles. We're in an agile environment where we're iterating continuously. How do you actually do benefit realisation when you're in that space? I don't know. The next guy's going to talk to you about that, and you'll all come up with the idea. But these are the things you need to be thinking about. We're in a bold new world where things are going to be changing and things are happening a lot faster. How do you actually get an agile system that has a robustness about it that we can actually still feel as though we're comfortable knowing that we're spending the public money in a solid way? If there are any questions, I am just throwing them out. Thanks. Are there any questions that people would like to answer?
Well, I can hear a really interesting presentation, and some of your themes are very topical at the moment. But working across the silos, can you talk about any innovations that you're doing in that space, just by way of examples?
So I think that actually the social investment unit is actually a really good example of that, where it's actually come together and you are working across the silos and you're trying to break down a lot of the different sort of data needs and actually look at the individual, what they need, and pulling in everything from government. Another service delivery one, which is a really good example, is Smart Start. So that's a website that we're doing a lot of work on stages of life. And this is when you're pregnant, there is now a website that you can go to, and it covers all of the different 17 government agencies you need to engage with when you're expecting a child, as well as Plunkett, midwives and stuff like that. It's all there on one website, and you can coordinate how you want to engage with these people. And it also gives you helpful things like, oh, it's month 3, you should be thinking about these things now. It's month 4, have you thought about this? And we'll also throw in what the most popular names in New Zealand are at the moment, so you can start thinking about the names for your child as well. All sorts of interesting things going on there. But yeah, it's about actually how do we bring it all together, the different agencies, so that the citizen is at the centre and they get to decide how they want to engage. Not, oh, I have to go to that government agency, that government agency, that government agency. So we're doing little things. The partnership framework and how the CEs and the secretaries are working together will actually start meaning that we have to do this a lot more.
So the whole, given the nature of the room, the whole idea of benefits is sort of a multi-dimensional thing, right? I mean, benefits are somewhat in the eye of the beholder. Generally, we talk about benefits in terms of often fiscal savings or financial benefits. Is there any work going on in terms of the various customers or benefactors of those benefits, and how we can take a more 360 view of a benefit?
That's the work that Jonathan and the team over there are doing. So is there anything that you guys want to add into that? See how I seamlessly threw that to you?
I think when you start taking that real, true customer-centric approach to designing your investments, that naturally starts to flow out. You're reconfiguring. Smart Start is all about helping new parents through the process of having a child. The benefits are for them. We might make some efficiency gains in the background, but the focus and the strategic drivers of the investment are all thinking about the customer first, seeing what they want, they experience, and having a true appreciation of the user of the service.
Sure, but the benefits realisation and review of those benefits, I guess the point I'm getting at is what people are thinking is behind, you know, is uptake of a particular service considered to be a benefit? Are there other things that are proxy measures outside of sort of fiscal return to government or to the Crown?
Yeah, and that's where the Jonathan is working on, and so they are looking at sort of what are the benefits. It can't just be about cost anymore. You need to look at some of the other benefits, but part of it also gets into the whole, you say the benefits are in the eye of the beholder, they're also in the eyes of Treasury. And so actually getting Treasury over the line to be able to say, actually, these are legitimate benefits that are going to be good for the whole system. We may not see costs right now. And so, yes, there is work going on there, but I can't talk in detail about it, and I'll sound like an idiot if I do, but I can put you in contact with Jonathan, and he'll be able to talk about his work program a lot more with you.
I appreciate that if we could.
I'll give you a card, please.
Well, maybe just a very quick follow-on with that. You mentioned the D5 and when
Oh good, I can talk about it, yes.
Yeah. So some of the ideas that we've done with Estonia, I don't know if Canada's part of that, but I mean, they're very
And no, it's Estonia, which are an amazing digital country. They were one of the first ones that identified that the internet is a human right in this day and age. They're doing amazing things. It's South Korea, and of course they've always been very technologically advanced. When everyone else was struggling to get 3% of R&D spent, they were heading towards 5%. They do amazing things. Israel, once again, startup nation, so very, very smart. And the UK, who started it all and actually have been really, really pushing the digital agenda. Canada's one of the ones we are looking at. You have to sign up to 9 principles under the D5 Charter, and a lot of people struggle with the 9 principles, but it is about open government, open source, digital assistance to make sure that we don't leave anyone behind. It's about getting coding into schools really early so that we're actually getting the next generation of technologically savvy people. It's about opening up markets so that procurement is open within a government system, and we're also allowing businesses to come in and do some of the role the government used to. One of the other big things of the D5 is that it is about sharing information. So once a year, all of the D5 countries come together, and we've got working groups going on during the year, and the ministers come and basically hold you accountable. What are you doing? New Zealand happens to be the chair, and so we will be holding the D5 meeting next year in February 19th and 20th in Auckland, called Digital Nations Open Conference. It will be awesome. And then in Wellington on the 21st and 22nd, where the ministers will be holding the conference, and we're going to be showcasing some of the best stuff that we're doing in the public sector as well. So there is a lot going on there. You can't be brilliant at everything in the digital world, and so therefore you need to work with the best around the world so that you can learn off them, so you can focus on what your competitive advantage is.
A political question.
Oh, good.
Given the digital advances in the UK, how much might that position have influenced the Brexit discussions?
I don't know, but I am fascinated by that, because, as I say, it's all about open government, and it's about open and transparent information. And given what their Prime Minister has been saying in light of the terrorist attacks recently, that will be very, very interesting, and I think it will make for a very interesting D5 as we get into that. I know that their Chief Technical Officer, who was out here last month, Liam Maxwell, is very pushing the open government and knows how important it is. But there are a lot of issues in this world that we need to deal with, and the internet is feeding a lot of these things that we're worried about, and so how do we balance that? But at the same stage, you can't close it down because it's an economic powerhouse, and it's how we're going to be. So yeah, these aren't easy questions. One person alone can't answer them, but yeah, I'm fascinated by that.
Similar thing, how are we going at the moment with that kind of dichotomy around this kind of need to be open, transparent, sharing, collaborating on information, yet our kind of cultural preoccupation with privacy of information, which is kind of almost at odds with that?
It is, and I was thinking about this presentation this morning as I was listening to national radio, and of course all of the issues with data at the moment, and non-profit organisations not wanting to share sensitive data. And I can understand that, and we do have issues with how we share information. I think once people start seeing the benefit that will come from it, and there are huge benefits with big data, that actually they'll feel more comfortable doing it. And it's ensuring that as a government, we keep the trust of the public. We stop doing stupid things that are going to make them think that we don't know what they're doing with their data. That's really important. Trust is critical in this environment. It's an interesting dichotomy because people share everything with Facebook. You know, all their secret stuff. Won't share anything with the government, and maybe it's because I work for the government. I think I'm slightly more trustworthy, but it's because we do have a power relationship over them, so therefore they do worry about what you can do, what government will do with their information. And so it's ensuring that we get that trust. We work with the public and non-profit sector and businesses to say, this is really critical. Israel has a really good way of doing it, that their citizens will get a lot of data, but they can go on and check their data at any time, and then they will query it if they think there's something wrong. And it's in legislation that they have 48 hours. The government has 48 hours to respond to that query. They don't get to change it because they need to keep the integrity of it. They can query it at any time. They can see everything that is there. You need to do sort of things like that so people get the trust up.
Do you think we're getting any better? Because that same conversation's been going on for quite a few years now.
I think we are getting better because every time you make a small increases in things that you're doing, the trust will go up. And I think a really good example of that is passports. We've got one of the best passport systems in the world. It's unheard of anywhere else to get a passport in 2 days. It's amazing. Using things like that, which from a GCIO thing, it's really, really important, and it gets us to our result 10 thing, like getting 70% in transitions online. But it's not a federated service like Smart Starts. We don't scream about it from the roofs because it's just one thing. But actually that one component is really important because it's about trust. And people are trusting. Most 50% of applications are now done online. And as people are like, oh, I need it in 2 days, they'll do more and more of it. That sort of stuff will build up. Smart Start, when people actually see that's a really good service and their information is safe, that will start building up trust. It's slowly just building it up. Yeah. I hope.
One thing I guess in that regard was the work that I think Miriam Lips and her team did. So I don't know if you read the Data Futures work, but I think that's internationally recognised now as being very well thought through in terms of the risk-value balance, and including privacy and aspects of privacy. So it'll be a continuing conversation, but we're definitely reasonably well placed in this country.
Yeah, and I think that our privacy legislation is reasonably well placed. It's solid, and I think a lot of us get quite scared about privacy legislation and think that we can't do as much as we can. And actually, the Privacy Commissioner will be, you can do quite a bit more. We have quite open privacy legislation. But as it gets more and more into the digital world, it's a conversation that should carry on because people's information is, valuable. Thank you all.
Thanks very much, Emma. Really set the scene well. Next on the agenda, looking at how our own work in our portfolio management offices. I've got Zach Beaton and Irene Bassel from CB from Sydney. Zach was saying he's been looking after New Zealand government in terms of Treasury has a subscription to CB, and we get a lot of value out of that. He has come over how many times in the last 2 years? 13 or 14 times, a real supporter. They provide a lot of benchmark best practice around portfolio management, benefits management. So I'm really excited that they're here today to be able to talk to you. I'm going to bring up your presentation for a second.
Yeah, I've been looking after New Zealand government for about 13 or 14 months. I've been here about 13 or 14 times, much to the displeasure of my wife and young child. I've been spending a lot of time in Wellington. To introduce myself and who CEB are, my name is Zach Beaton. I am the Senior Account Manager with CEB. My colleague Irene Bassel is a Senior Advisory Analyst with CEB on our advisory research side of the business. To give you some insight into who we are and what we do before I jump into kind of some of the things that we'll be talking about today, essentially CEB is a best practice sort of research and advisory organisation. We were acquired by Gartner, another research and advisory organisation, about 2 months ago. The acquisition went through, so hence the new little logo and name of our company, which is CEB, is now Gartner. The combined organisation makes us sort of the largest, research advisory organisation globally. Gartner side of the business has traditionally focused on IT, supply chain, and marketing. The CEB side of the business has focused on pretty much all corporate functions. So IT, finance, HR, marketing, communications, pretty much anything like sales. And the idea is that, well, I guess the premise behind our business model is that regardless of industry or geography, you know, executives and managers and their teams face very similar challenges. And that's prevalent in both the private and public sector. And so the way we go about sort of conducting our research and what we focus on, our support on for executives and their teams, is completely driven by our member demand. We have about over 10,000 member organisations globally in both the private and public sector. And every year we go out to understand what are the key challenges that they're facing. What are the priorities for them in the next 12 to 18 months? We then whittle that down to sort of 5 or 6 really key sort of high level challenges or priorities. And that's what we spend our time, money and effort on in terms of research. We go back out to the membership base and understand what are the root causes of those particular challenges, those particular problems, and who's solving them best. And so we do a lot of scientific sort of qualitative and quantitative research to understand what are those best practices, and then can they be transferable to all of our membership base regardless of industry or geography. And that's sort of how we, I guess, share some of those best practices. And in a way, it's sort of legalised plagiarism to an extent. So the topic we've sort of chosen today is part of our, what we call our annual executive meeting series. And within our, I work within what's called our tech practice. So we support CIOs and their teams, but the PMO Leadership Council, of which Treasury are members of, is an interesting one because it doesn't necessarily support just IT teams or just governance or delivery PMOs, but it supports ePMOs, portfolio managers, and pretty much anyone that's doing delivery or governance within an organisation. And this is a meeting that we conduct every year, and the topic of this year's meeting is reshaping the PMO for the digital era. The format of the meeting is really getting about sort of 40 or 50 heads of PMO and the equivalent into a room to talk about some of the key challenges, some of the key research that we've focused on for the last 12 months, and then get an understanding from you guys, well, what's the impact to your organisations, what's the impact to your roles and your teams? And over the course of the next sort of 15, 20 minutes, we're going to sort of condense as much of that as possible into some of the key takeaways from this year's meeting series. Firstly, a little bit of the why and the sort of how behind what we focused on and why the need for change and reshaping. Digitisation is ubiquitous. 2 big words, not necessarily like them. You can use digitisation, you can use digital transformation, digital, whatever you want to say. Something's happening. We need to adapt their organisations to I guess, cater for some of this stuff. You can see that 87% of executive leaders report that digitisation is a priority for their organisation. That's across both the public and private sector. 2/3 of business leaders report their organisations must pick up the pace of digitisation to remain relevant. And then 77% of executive priorities are dependent on technology. Not that technology is a part of it, but technology is central to their priorities over the next 12 to 18 months. And so we've done this sort of Digital Enterprise 2020 initiative where we focused our research and support around, what does it mean, and what does it mean for our particular functions itself. And so we wanted to level set on how we define digitisation. And we've been able to look at, what are the opportunities for a digital enterprise into 3 tracks: the product, the channel, and the operations and workforce. You can see on the left-hand side, we're moving from enhancements to those 3 tracks, to the right-hand side to full-blown transformation. And you can see as we go to transformation, those tracks start to blur, the boundaries start to blur. And if you think about that for your organisations, the boundaries of your organisation are starting to blur as well, as we look at things like cross-agency collaboration. And in the dotted box there, you can see that digitisation is leading to an integrated, citizen-centric perspective across the enterprise and across government. Things like, in the middle there, you've got omni-channel marketing, but this is really about omni-channel experience from a citizen's perspective. Having that collaboration, that integration across agencies and ministries to be able to share data and share that experience. 2 days for a passport sounds alright. 6 weeks minimum in Australia. So what does this mean for traditional PMOs who are doing a lot of the delivery and governance in organisations? Well, we call it being Ubered. So, it's not necessarily the fact that PMOs are no longer relevant, but it's more that people are kind of going elsewhere to get things done, whether it be other places in the organisation, whether it be to suppliers and third parties. And it's not that they're sort of attacking your strengths, they're attacking some of the weaknesses of PMO. And we've outlined a few of them here around customer-centric focus. 87% of organisations are deploying Agile to deliver against changing customer priorities. PMOs are starting to be disbanded and Agile practices being stood up. Speed and flexibility, it's not something that PMO is traditionally known for. 29% of executives think the PMO, only 29% of executives think the PMO improves speed to market or speed to value. 55% of projects being managed by business partners outside the control of the traditional PMO. And then 52% of organisations are or soon will be operating in a product line management, where we're focusing on end-to-end services supporting business capabilities or business outcomes. Where does the PMO fit in there, where we don't have a start and end point for projects anymore? It's constantly evolving. And so it's so important in our discussions with PMO leaders to work out, well, what are our comparative advantages? What are the things we need to double down on now so that we stay relevant and can drive our strengths within a digital enterprise? And so these are 3 of the comparative advantages that we've identified. There may be more, but these are the 3 most important, we believe. The first being having a neutral enterprise perspective. Impartial cross-enterprise or cross-agency perspective on demand, investment, and the utilisation of resources. The digital world brings so much complexity, matrix structures, that executives there's going to be a lot of political battles, both within agencies and across agencies. PMO is uniquely positioned to help calm some of that, to help I guess, take advantage of some of the opportunities that are available. That links us to the next one, which is operating via influence. So being able to affect change through influence rather than through direct ownership. We saw on the previous slide that 55% of projects are being completed outside the PMO. We need to start influencing more. And we've always done it, but now it's time to double down. And lastly, stakeholder insight. It's insight on the preferences of diverse stakeholders and experience synthesising their feedback. This is not necessarily the I guess, insight into the functions or the priorities of the function. This is the individuals that you're working with and being able to understand what their communication styles are, how we can leverage some of their strengths to get things done, get things moving quickly. And so we need to kind of adapt and double down on some of these things. The question is, how do we do it? This is a pretty powerful...
I've got a question in terms of the ones that you've identified there. They're not really unique to the PMO office. I mean, that could be the change management team or the architecture team.
Yep.
So I think they're sort of missing something there.
I would say...
There's some other strength of the PMO office. Maybe it's in terms of information investment or...
Yeah, and I'd say that's in there as well, to an extent. But I think the PMO is uniquely positioned to take advantage of these, more so than perhaps an architecture. If you include change management in PMO as well.
It's not an exhaustive list, though.
No, this is the ones we think are the 3 most important, which kind of leads us to the next one, which is like, what are the activities that we need to either start doing more of or stop doing? And if I kind of can navigate on here is, on the right hand side, we've got the traditional sort of governance and delivery of projects. So things like execution, defining methodology, planning and allocating project resources, and tracking project health and benefits. We're not saying that they're not important. We're saying that the PMO will probably give up these activities and shift to the left-hand side. Things like stewarding enterprise-level capital allocation, or developing PM staff digital skills. We think these are the types of activities that traditional PMOs need to start doing more of to stay relevant in their organisations. And you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, 64% of PMOs currently do all of those activities. And so it's a real shift. It's a little controversial to yeah, you're right.
So are you saying that you're going to be less likely to trade with realisation that's going to become less relevant?
No. So yes and no. So I'm saying that the PMO won't be tracking benefits. That'll be done somewhere else in the business. Now I know not all of you are part of PMO here and are in the business of doing your benefits tracking, benefits realisation, and we're saying that is the case. PMO is uniquely positioned as having a holistic view across the organisation to be able to do some of these other things, which are going to be higher value delivery stuff. So this, I can tell you that when we presented this to heads of PMO in North America and Europe, and I'm going to bet it's going to be the same as when we present it to heads of PMO in Sydney in a couple of months' time, there's going to be a lot of conjecture around some of these activities. But it's food for thought. I'll pass it over to Irene now, because we want to look at just a couple of examples, a couple of really simple and relevant examples and case studies from a couple of our organisations. They're not public sector, they're private sector, but we think the themes behind that are really simple to implement and start to make that shift towards the left-hand side.
Great, so maybe just before I quickly jump in, just by a show of hands, I want to ask a really quick question. How many of you feel like you've got more to do than you have time? Yeah, definitely not surprising at all, and that's exactly why I wanted to show you this first case study. And from what we've just seen from Zach, the work of the PMO is still very much heavily geared towards delivery and execution, and the purpose of this case is to show how you can spend less time though on execution and allow you to create more time to enable and influence the business.